Okay, well, thanks. So hello, museum families, and welcome to RBCM at Home Kids, a play date through screens across British Columbia and the world. The previous sessions are recorded and you can find them on our Royal BC Museum YouTube page. My name is Chris O'Connor and I'm a learning program developer at the Royal BC Museum. The museum and my home is on the territory of the Lekwungen speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations here in Victoria on Vancouver Island. I'm an uninvited guest on this territory and grateful to live, learn, and raise a family on this land. So for the last 15 months, we've been doing RBCM at Home Kids with only a few weeks off, so mostly continuous. We've done 63 episodes, today is 64, which is all pretty impressive if I do say so myself. We've had staff from the Royal BC Museum join in as guests. We've had staff from other BC museums and cultural organizations join in as guests. We've had community members as guests. I know I've learned so much over this time and I've been grateful to have people join in from all over BC and all over the world, especially during the pandemic when things felt challenging and our world got smaller. This program was a way to connect and feel a part of something bigger. So thank you for joining in over the last year and a bit. During the summer, we'll go on a hiatus from RBCM at Home Kids and instead do RBCM at Home Summer, which might look similar in some ways, different in others. So for the last session of RBCM at Home Kids, at least for now, we're so happy to have Bridget Penner for this session about orca sounds. Bridget started her journey at the museum as a kid visitor, then a kid as part of our kid camps, then a youth volunteer or mentor as part of our camps, and then as a contract staff for the camps. So quite a journey. And I know, just speaking for myself as staff here, I've learned so much from Bridget over these years and been always so grateful to be in your presence, Bridget, because you bring so much to what happens here at the museum. So thank you so much, Bridget, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
And taking on the challenge of thinking about orca sounds.
So I'm going to be talking about orca sounds and also how much orcas have in common with us humans, because it's probably a lot more than you think. And along with that, I'm going to be doing a drawing of a couple orcas, and I'll be talking you through it and showing you. So you need paper and whatever you can use, a pencil, a pen, a marker, crayons, anything you want.
So if you need to go get that right now, you can go off and then come right back with a paper and something to draw with. So yeah, so Bridget, do you want to get right into it?
Yeah, sure. So for the first part of the drawing, I'll start you off on that. You're going to draw two C shapes, and I'll show you in 1 second what those are going to look like. Just like this on your paper. One a little bit smaller than the other one. And then once you're done that, you're going to draw their dorsal fin like this. And then finally, you're going to draw a big line coming down just like that and kind of taper it in at the end, like that. I'll hold this up for 1 more second so everyone can see. And then I'll get started. So orcas are found throughout the oceans of the world, from the tropics to the North and South poles, but the largest concentrations of them are found off the coastal regions of cooler countries like Iceland and Canada. A Canadian scientist named John Ford has found that orcas actually speak in different dialects. These differences can be as small as the difference between regional English dialects. So like the way that Southern English sounds a little bit different to the way we talk up here. Or they can be as different as Englishes with Russian or with Japanese. So yeah, I'll just do the second part of the drawing now. So you're going to draw their pectoral fins. So you're going to do one U shape, kind of tilting like that, right at where you ended the C at the bottom there. And then you're going to do one more U shape right beside it, like that. And then you have both the pectoral fins. So this finding about the different dialects actually puts orcas in an elite group of mammals with humans, some primates, and harbor seals as the only determined species whose dialects or languages are changed by the region they're in. The sounds produced by other mammals are determined genetically. So wherever you go in the world, they're going to sound the same. But with orcas, along with the other animals, where they are in the world will determine their different dialects. So John Ford, who's the curator of marine mammals at the Vancouver Public Aquarium, he's been studying the way orcas communicate for over a decade now. And he says that the orca dialects are made of the whistles and the calls the animals use when communicating underwater. And this is not to be confused with the high energy sonar-like clicks that they emit when they're navigating with echolocation. Those don't change with by region, just the sounds they make, yeah. And so
for those, Bridget, who might not know what you mean by echolocation, what is that?
They use the clicks to bounce off of things in the water so they can tell where they are and what they are based on the way the sound bounces back and how far away it is, how quiet it is. So they can use that to look for obstacles ahead of them, look for food, or other things like that. Yeah. The same way that bats use echolocation. You might have heard that. They make the clicking sounds and they hear. Yeah, it's the same. Orcas do the same thing. Yeah. So for the third part of the drawing, we're just going to finish off the body. So we're going to do a curvy line, just like that, from the bottom of the pectoral fin, kind of tapering in at the end there on both of your orcas. And then you're going to draw a kind of mitten-like shape at the bottom for the tail. I will show you that in 1 second. So kind of like a mitten, the ones you wear when it gets really cold out. Not with all the fingers, but yeah, just like that.
Almost looks like an upside down heart as well,
yeah,
right?
It does. Mm-hmm. So we actually have a listening activity. We wanted to do that now, do you think?
Sure, I'll share. So this is something that we have up in the exhibition of the Orcas exhibition, and it's an interactive where you can guess whether it's an orca sound or not. So we're going to do that to see if you can guess or no. We'll play 3 different sounds, and I'll pause then to have you guess whether it's an orca, it is an orca, or it's not an orca. So I'm gonna share that right now. Okay. So are you ready? Ready? So that was the sound. Do you think that that was an orca, or is that some other kind of thing? Is it an orca or not an orca? And you could put in the chat or the comment section. I'll just give you a second to write. Is it an orca or not an orca? Okay, let's see. It is an orca. Okay, so the next one. So is that an orca or is that not an orca? All right, let's see. That was tricky because Bridget, you were just talking about the clicking sound with echolocation. So it could have easily been thought like you could, I might have would have guessed an orca because of that. But that was a monkey, not an orca. All right, was that an orca? All right, let's see. No, that was a balloon. But also kind of tricky too. Okay, last one. All right, so that last one was an orca. So there were 2 orcas, 2 non-orcas, but all like pretty convincing. So.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Thank you. So not only do orcas have distinct regional dialects, they're also able to learn new ones. As a case in 2014 demonstrated, when housed with bottlenose dolphins for a period of 3 years, 3 orcas' vocalizations changed to more closely match those of the dolphins, including dolphin vocalizations like click trains and whistles. So kind of like some of the noises you heard there that sounded like they could have been orcas but weren't. Sounds like that. Bottlenose dolphins produce similar sounds to orcas, but in different proportions. So dolphins make more clicks and whistles, whereas orcas produce more pulsed calls, kind of like the first one we heard. So for the 4th part of the drawing, we're going to start by drawing a kind of wave-like shape, like this. See how it kind of looks like a wave cresting at the bottom. And tail that off near the end, starting at the back pectoral fin. And we're going to do that on both of them. So like that. And then we're going to draw something that looks a little bit like a banner right at the front, like that. So it kind of looks like a long thin flag waving in the wind a little bit. We're going to do that on both of them. Just like that. And then we're going to draw an oval right above that on both of them. So on the note of orcas.
Sorry, Bridget, can you hold that up just a little bit longer? Nice, okay.
So on the note of orcas being able to learn different dialects, an international team of researchers actually recently released a study that demonstrates a 14-year-old orca named Wiki, who lives in France, producing recognizable sounds that are not a part of her native language. So Wiki, this orca, had already been trained to respond to a copy command, which is basically a signal to do this or do that. And that training was used to teach her how to blow raspberries, mimic a creaky door sound, say hello and bye-bye, and repeat numbers, all with her head above the water. And previously, only 3 other mammals have been described as being able to do this: an elephant in 2012, harbor seals in 1985, and a beluga whale in 2012. Now we're going to draw the water at the bottom. So you want to draw one wave going all the way across right at the bottom of the orca's tails.
So these 2 are jumping out of the water?
Yes. Yes. And then if you want, you can add some squiggly shapes at the bottom of their tails to kind of show water splashing up as they jump out of the water. So these can look irregular and don't have to look like anything specific, just blobs and dots at the bottom of their tails to have them coming out of the water. So here, I'll show that just once more so you can see what I was doing. Many researchers accept that cultural experiences have helped shape human evolution. And there's been evidence now that the same may be true of orcas. So human genomes have evolved in response to our cultural behaviors. And a genome is an organism's complete set of genetic instructions, which basically means it contains all the information needed to build that organism and allow it to grow and develop. a scientist named Andrew Foote at the University of Bern in Switzerland and his colleagues suspected that orcas might follow a similar pattern of cultural evolution to humans. So like much of human history, orca groups, which are called niches, are separated geographically, which means there are separate orca niches in different areas around the world that never interact with one another. Individual orcas live in these groups for several decades, so the young orcas have plenty of time to learn special, unique habits, like different ways of hunting prey. So depending on where you go in the world, different niches of orcas will get their food differently. Some will wait in the water for the prey to come to them, and other ones will actually go on the beach or go close to shore and search them out. And that all depends on where the different niche is. Biologists use the term culture to describe the learning of these behaviors. So finally, for the drawing, if you want to color it in, you're welcome to. So the wave here, the banner, and the oval are all going to be left white, and the rest of it you can shade or color it in black. And then the water, of course, you can make it blue, or the greenish blue water that we have out here on the BC. Yeah. So one of the questions, though, is that these cultural groups of orcas, they have different learned behaviors, but are they genetically different from one another? To find this out, Foote and his colleagues looked at the genomes, or the set of instructions, of 50 orcas from 5 different niches, 2 in the Pacific Ocean and 3 in the Antarctic Ocean. The genomes fell into 5 distinct groups that exactly mirrored the 5 cultural niches. So basically this means that the different groups of orcas, the different niches, as well as developing different behaviors based on where they are, they actually genetically evolved as well. So not just the way they act, but their very DNA. So for example, some genes that may have specific functions in their diet seem to have diverged between the different cultural groups. So even though orcas shared a common ancestor as recently as 200,000 years ago, these individual cultural groups have become genetically distinct. Though the team doesn't go into how these genes affect the diet of the orcas, it could work a lot like it does for humans. So for example, 90 to 100% of people with cultural roots in Eastern Asia are lactose intolerant, which means they lack the ability to properly digest lactose, which is a sugar that's found in milk. On the other hand, only about 5% of people with Northern European descent have this issue, because Northern Europeans have a long history of drinking unfermented milk, while East Asians rarely, if ever, would consume it. And over time, our bodies changed accordingly. So it might be similar for the orcas, where depending on where they are able or unable to digest certain kinds of food. The parallels between orcas and humans doesn't appear to be a matter of coincidence, but is more likely because both species traveled the entire globe in search of food and other resources, humans on land and orcas in the water. And like humans, orcas have developed specific cultures in response to their biological needs. So even though it seems like we may not have all that much in common with orcas, their language and cultural evolution is a lot more similar to humans than it looks at first glance. Yeah.
So are you saying, Bridget, then, like, because they cover so much of the Earth in terms of where they are, that has created that diversity within orcas in general? If they were just found in the Pacific, then there wouldn't be that much variation, in terms of culture as it is now.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. When you're looking at the cultures of different groups of humans, for example, a lot of it has to do with location as well, which isn't usually mentioned. It's a shared set of beliefs and common history. But if everybody was in the same area, the cultures would probably be a lot more similar. We've actually kind of seen that as it's become easier to communicate across the globe, that cultures are kind of blending together, and while there's the distinct histories, a lot of things are happening that are more global and universal than it was before, because we aren't separated as much by location anymore. So it's very true that a lot of it almost certainly has to do with the fact that there are these different niches of orcas. that don't interact with one another. They develop these cultures. Yeah.
They're not on Zoom yet, so.
Not quite, but you know, you never know.
And that it's so interesting how that gets expressed through vocalization and language, and then like that's so interesting. That's like passed down through generations, but also like built in within the DNA of the actual animal. So.
And it's so distinct that scientists can actually determine what pod a group of orcas is in based on the way they sound. So it's not just within these niches that the language is different. It's the smaller pods within these groups that have their own dialects as well. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much, Bridget. If anyone has any questions, either in the Zoom room or on Facebook Live, feel free to put them down. I'm wondering whether, so yes, do that. Definitely ask any questions you have.
Yes.
It makes me wonder, like, if you took one orca from one pod of one part of the world and put it into another pod somewhere else, whether that difference in dialect, difference in culture would make it almost impossible for them to be integrated into the new pod, or whether like it's minor enough that they could sort of adjust to join the new pod. Any research on that?
Not that specifically, but the orcas were able to fit in with the bottlenose dolphins when they were there. That was in captivity, which is different than in the wild, of course, but you know, there is that evidence to suggest they can adapt to that sort of thing.
Right. They probably they hold that history of their dialect, but then they could adapt to a new one.
Yeah, and the different niches, each having their own thing, means that orcas from different pods, if they got separated, they would be able to fairly easily fit in with another group. Though there might be some small dialect things, kind of like the way that people from England, for example, speak with an accent when or it sounds like an accent when they come to Canada. It might be something like that, where you can understand them perfectly. They just sound a little bit different, but versus a different language going to a whole new country and a different niche. Yeah.
Right. Can you show the drawing one more time?
I wasn't able to color it in while I was talking, but
that's okay.
There's the two orcas.
It's so nice, and I love the two orcas too. Like they're you can imagine them communicating to each other.
Yeah, orcas are very
very social.
Very social. Yeah, they have a lot in common personality-wise with humans, actually, and chimpanzees as well, where they can be stubborn or outgoing or confident, that kind of thing. Yeah. Did a small.
And I don't know if it's because we have the orcas exhibition right now, but when I went swimming the other day, just like being under the water, trying to vocalize myself by like humming, and I was like, oh wow, this is like, it's interesting just to think about that sort of vocalization under the water. I mean, obviously orcas are built to be their primary form of communication, but we can also do some vocalization under the water too. So.
And that orca wiki was able to do some vocalizations above water as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Bridget.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great getting to do this with over the past year, not being able to do all that much museum learning wise. Yeah,
we're so happy to have you back at the museum. And I love that the two orcas, the drawing that I did as well, like that just started to emerge so quickly in a really lovely way. So I loved all that sort of revealing the scene, mixed with some really great research around the work that scientists are doing around the world and out of curiosity. So
really interesting stuff.
Totally.
I was enjoying looking into it, getting to. I had no idea,
Right.
Hear about dolphins making sounds and stuff like that. But
So we have a comment. Noah asks, would you mind showing Bridget's amazing drawing again?
There it is. There's a couple orcas.
I love the water coming off the tail too. That totally made it for me.
Great.
And it's interesting because you look at that and you think those ovals are the eyes, but they're not the eyes.
They're not. It's just white spots. Yeah. Yeah, they're the patterns are to help them kind of blend in with the water by like kind of camouflaging where their bodies are. That's the way that water kind of looks, you know, when you're underwater, you see the line. So it helps camouflage them by
For sure.
patterns. Yeah.
For sure. So for everyone out there on Zoom and Facebook Live, the museum is open. We have the exhibition. Have you been to the exhibition yet, Bridget?
I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm hoping to go very soon. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
I'm setting aside some time next week to do that.
Oh, good. Have you lead a tour when you come? And so the exhibition is open. It's excellent. Please, for everyone, please come. We also, and Jenny just put that in the chat and the comment section, that we have a new video as well, a virtual tour. So if you're far away and you can't make it to Victoria to see the exhibition, you can watch the virtual tour of the exhibition as well. So lots of different ways to engage, and especially today by drawing and learning a little bit about science. So again, thanks so much, Bridget. Thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you. It was great.
All right. Take care, everyone.